Okay, welcome once again to another edition of Better Know a Candidate.
It's almost like we do these like back and forth.
That was awesome.
Well,
it was. I think I should have a better video.
I was waiting for like a puppy or something to come out at the end or something.
Gary turning to the camera like
a puppy. I love that idea.
so,
Okay.
I mean, with the music, you should have a puppy at the end. Like,
it's the softer side of the rotation here.
Yeah, but the point is that we're trying to make sure that everybody has a chance to go face to face out there, because we have so many people who are new faces to so many folks, and they have no idea who to vote for. And I think it's important that you know how to plan your vote and know exactly where you're going.
It's kind of like the purpose of the organization, to get people to vote for cannabis report.
Well, let's go over to Senate District 38.
Oh,
and this is where Janelle Sophia is now running for Pizzo's old spot. I think we won.
No, so this is actually, so Jason Pizzo, no. So this is actually, they got Senator Tadeo's district and Senator Ileana Garcia's district, and they created a new one. So this is an open seat that goes from the entrance of Brickell, all of Key Biscayne, and the entire East Coast down to the Homestead Air Force Base, and west into Kendall and parts of Coral Gables.
Wow.
Here's the important thing. Does it include?
It does not include Calle Ocho. So I have everything east of US 1 all the way up to Bird Road. And then at Bird Road, I just cut across to the Palmetto. So I have everything on the south side of Bird Road.
This is important because I was actually in Baptist Hospital over and lived in Kendall. I lived in Winston Park, years old, and then we moved to Pembroke Pines.
So I didn't go to Winston Park, but I went to Debonair Elementary, which was close by there.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, all changes in this, it's hard to know exactly who your constituents are. So how do you know your constituents better than anybody else who may be walking this?
So I've actually lived here my whole life, with the exception of a couple of years ago when I went to get my master's and work in Washington, D.C. for the congresswoman who used to represent this district and this area. And I've pretty much lived in every part. I grew up on 132nd and Bird. Then I moved to Kendall on 122nd. Then I lived in Pinecrest for a little while. I lived in Miami Beach for a bit. And now I'm back in Pinecrest. Oh, wait, I forgot. I also lived in South Miami for a little while. This is home. This has been home for the last, I moved back here from DC in 2014, and I've been here ever since. I have a small business with my family that provides services in Miami-Dade County. So my job is to contract doctors. So when I go out through the entire Miami-Dade County, talking to doctors and visiting healthcare practices. So I'm very, very familiar with the district. This is home.
But you managed to stay sometime over in DC, where over in Foggy Bottom, around there?
Yeah, actually I did. I lived in, so the metro stop was Foggy Bottom, but I lived in West End.
You gotta love DC. It's a whole different world out there. But then again, so is Tallahassee. I'm sure you're looking forward to tackling it.
I'm really looking forward to some change. Tallahassee hasn't been working for my community for quite some time already, and it has been it's just so corrupt, and it's frustrating as somebody new to all of this. I come from the private sector and business, and I'm just seeing what's going on, and this isn't what I want to leave the next generation and my kids with. We have to change this. Something's got to give, and I'm doing everything I can to get up there and start making some change. and have the difficult conversations.
Well, speaking of difficult conversations, you had we had mentioned before we came in. Actually, have a medical card, which makes you, a lot different than a lot of the other candidates out there. But you had got your medical card for a specific reason, correct?
I do. So I am a cancer survivor. When I was 28 years old in 2015, I was diagnosed with a stage 4, what was supposed to be an incurable cancer. And I could not, during my treatment, I couldn't eat or sleep. It was really, really bad. Cannabis helped me get through it. And then after my treatment, people don't talk about, I don't know if it's a form of PTSD or what, but you start to get really bad anxiety and it I don't want to say depression because I didn't feel depressed. I just felt it was something that it was just kind of like I was sad because I didn't understand what happened or why it happened. And it happens, apparently this happens to a lot of cancer survivors. But cannabis helped me get through that. And every morning I take CBD with my coffee, and it's helped bring down the amount of anxiety that I was having. I was having a lot of anxiety attacks after cancer and after surviving it. I would find myself like checking my lymph nodes and all of that kind of stuff, and it's really made a huge difference in my life.
Now, not religious, despite the fact that he's got a degree in theology.
So religious studies
Okay.
degree.
I mean, religion is one of the most interesting things on the planet, to be honest with you. So I can understand why you want to study theology.
He likes to mess with me. Actually, he likes to point out that I'm an atheist quite a bit, and
Oh,
That's all you need. But
okay.
religiously,
Well,
I have been told that when you go through an experience which brings you closer to death, at that point in time, either depending on who you talk to, a demon comes in or some of your soul leaks out, and that's why you have that depression until you can absorb it back just by living life to the fullest and regaining your grace, so to speak.
well, regardless of any religious connotation, imagine going through any tragedy is going to make anybody depressed, and
Yeah.
that's a normal thing.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you were able to find cannabis to get through it, and to get
I
through
mean,
your and everything.
Cannabis was a part of it. It was also, I have an incredible family. I was able to do the things that I love. I have
Oh,
two beautiful little girls, an incredible wife. Um, it was a combination of everything, but also, I've always been, my cancer treatment put a bunch of chemicals and a bunch of medicine into my body. I wanted to try the most natural and the most pharmaceutical free way to deal with mental health and the anxiety and depression that comes after cancer.
so as somebody who's benefited from cannabis and hemp, and as somebody who's running for office, do you feel that our cannabis program state is satisfactory? Do you feel that any reform is needed? Or
I mean, I think it could be better. Obviously, everything can always be better. It was easy for me to access it. I went to go see a doctor. I wish it was not as expensive, because I know that it restricts a lot of people from actually having access to it because it is so expensive. I think it's like $150 plus the cost of your doctor. It is really expensive to get a medicinal marijuana card in Florida. I think some things that could change and that I'd really love to see is, a lot of our first responders suffer from PTSD. And I really strongly believe that if they would like to seek help in other ways than pharmaceutical drugs, then by all means, if cannabis is the route that you and your doctor talk about and discuss and make the choice of, just because you are a first responder or a nurse or something like that, you shouldn't be restricted from having access to it because that is your job. I think everyone, if we're going to pass a law, I think everyone needs to be able to have access to it.
Well, and once again, filing our employee protection bill, which we've filed for a number of years now. Senator Polsky filed it last year, but it never quite got to the committee. So we're hoping it moves forward. And what it basically states is that if you are a medical patient here in Florida, it's because you have a debilitating condition. That means you're disabled. That means that your work needs to give you accommodations to make certain that you stay healthy. And so therefore, it makes perfect sense to be able to allow a person to use cannabis and not lose their job or not be prevented from getting a job. And that is basically what the bill states. And you'll be able to support as we move forward because you've got experience.
And I think a big part of it has to go into like education and destigmatizing it. And when you have someone like me who, you know, is an entrepreneur, a business owner, who's running for state senate and vocal about the impacts that cannabis had on their life, I think it's good. I think it'll help the argument and will definitely help move something like that forward. And you know, I hope to be a champion for it in the future when I am elected to be your state senator.
I gotta ask you, somebody from South Florida, right? You're representing Latinos in South Florida. Feel about cannabis? Do they want cannabis? Do they want reform? Do they want legalization?
I think the younger generations, you know, my generation and even younger, or you know, I'm a millennial, so I think I'm on the older side of the millennials. I think our generation is much more open to it, and definitely would support legalization. It's, you know, my parents' generation who maybe the folks that were here, the Latinos and the Hispanics that were here in the 80s might have a different perspective. Because I mean, remember, they lived through a time where we literally had cocaine cowboys and drugs and all of these things, and it was always
there's a thing that cannabis activists have to go through called coming out of the pot closet, right?
Yeah.
And it's when you're like, screw it, I'm on a thing. I don't care who knows. I don't care what jobs it screws up in the future. I think marijuana should be legalized, and I'm coming out of the marijuana closet. Right. So I came out of the pot closet to my parents, and mommy it was hard to convince her. All right. So
I was convinced before you even said a word.
What is
no, but you know, my Cuban conservative parents, when I told them that when I was going through the treatment and I said, hey, like, I'm not sleeping, I'm having anxiety attacks, like this is really bad. I told them, you know, I talked to somebody and I'm gonna try marijuana, and they were like, okay, if that's what's gonna make you feel better, we're with you. And I think when you associate that, like a medical problem, and how much it saved me, and how like my story connects to that, and how it helped me, I think that's really different. I think that does destigmatize it. It destigmatized it for my family.
So and tell you what, was it was anything for specifically with me. It wasn't like I suffered from addiction, but I definitely introduced my mom to a woman who's to Giselle Delgadillo, and her son Bruno, and you know, her son has this horrible epilepsy, and I remember the moment clicked for my mom. It was like she's looking at Giselle, and Giselle's like, I'm a mom. This is the last thing that's going to help my son. I'm going to do what I can to help my son. And my mom was like, okay, I'll help you. You know?
Yeah.
So let that be a lesson. The way you convince abuela to vote for medical marijuana is just the truth about medical marijuana. Show how it's impacted the community.
I think there's a lot of it's been around long enough to be able to directly connect with a lot of these diseases and diagnosis, and how it alleviates some of the symptoms. I think that's the first step, and putting a face to it. Someone like me, or even a young person, a child who suffers from epilepsy and whose parents were able to get that resource for them. And that tells a lot, and that moves a lot of hearts and minds, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of in the state of Florida is health equity, and I think that the folks of color are not getting the proper health care that they should. And of course, even if cannabis is an option for health, it seems to be too expensive because the way they have
Yeah.
it set up the program, there are corporations that seem to be in charge who are reducing competition, keeping prices high, and this quality is being is spurious. It's best to put that. So, are you in favor of breaking down these vertically integrated medical cannabis businesses and getting more horizontal mom and pop businesses going, and
Absolutely.
actually
Listen,
also people in modern?
absolutely. So I am running, my platform is about supporting small businesses. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents are entrepreneurs. My dad started off as a stock boy in Pantry Pride in the 80s and has done since then 2 successful businesses, and I've been lucky to be a part of one of them, which is where I'm at right now. Helping small businesses get into the market is huge. Helping entrepreneurs be able to do this is really, really big. And like I said before, the cost of being able to attain a medicinal marijuana card is already really high. We need to make it more affordable and attainable for more people. And then, yeah, the health equity. I am running literally on a platform of more access to healthcare for every single Floridian. And that means to whatever medication they need. It doesn't matter to me what your financial status is or anything like that, or where you live. You shouldn't have to suffer. And you shouldn't have to choose between healthcare and going bankrupt, one or the other. You should be able to have access to healthcare and not have to worry about that. So yes, I would 100% support anything that would make it more attainable for people and easier to attain it, to reach it, and also for people to be able to afford to even see a doctor in order to prescribe it.
Now, what kind of endorsements have you gotten in your area?
At least there aren't, from what I know of, there aren't a lot of doctors that can prescribe it either.
Well, we have about 2,000 doctors across the state. Some take on a huge amount of people. Some only take on a few.
Some doctors are scared too, because I mean you have to basically become registered, and they're scared that's going to affect their licensing in some way, even though it really doesn't. I just want to point out, Janelle, I didn't wear this hat on purpose today.
I just noticed it. I love it though.
Yeah, there was a Negro, was the Cubans, and yeah.
Love it.
Is that what it is? And I thought it was some kind of cultural pride finally coming from you. I mean, first you push no salami and Cubans. That's fine.
Can you believe that shit, Janelle? Let me point that out, right? The Cuban sandwiches in Tampa consist of pork, ham, and salami.
What?
All right. And you tell them that there's no salami on a Cuban sandwich, and then they think that you're stupid. And and then they go and they say, and then like all the white guys in Tampa claim they invented the Cuban sandwich.
I as a Cuban and someone who was raised on Cuban sandwiches, you don't put salami on a Cuban sandwich.
Kendall, that you put salami in a Cuban sandwich, and they will punch you in the
face.
They
should be in prison, okay?
That's all right. So enough about Cubans.
Someone put what? I'm sorry.
So no, we're running out of time. So go ahead, look in the camera, tell people how they can support you, where they can find you.
So I am running for Florida State Senate District 38. And the ways that you can support me is you can visit my website, JanellePerez.com. And please sign up to volunteer. We need boots on the ground. I am running against somebody who they are literally going to be able to write a blank check to. We need grassroots support. We need all kinds of support. So if you can join our team, by volunteering or making a contribution, please do so through my website, JanellePerez.com. And if you don't live in Miami but have some time, we also have call time lists that we can actually send to you, and you can do some call time for us on your spare time.
And who's endorsing you over right now in your district?
Oh man, so I have been endorsed by pretty much like everyone. I've got some bipartisan support, but I've got of the organizations, it's Ruthless, AFSCME, Save, Victory Fund, LPAC, SCIU, AFL-CIO, Vote Mama, and then individuals. I've got Donna Shalala, Debbie Munker-Sell-Powell, Senator Annette Taddeo, Lauren Book, pretty much every Democrat, Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, every Democrat in Miami right now is behind me, and this has been identified as one of the top 5 most critical seats that our state Senate needs to keep in November. And you know, this is important. This is really, really important. And yes, we've got cannabis, but women's reproductive freedom is on the ballot. LGBTQ rights are on the ballot. There's just so much on the line that is under attack by the party that claims to be all about small government, but yet we're finding them in our homes and in our business and in our doctor's offices. So I have a huge problem with that because that's not freedom.
And hopefully you got the endorsement of Equality Florida.
I do have the endorsement of Equality Florida. Absolutely. They are incredible. I will be, when I win, I will be the first openly gay parent in our Florida legislature.
Fantastic.
Whoa,
Good.
fantastic.
Yeah. Now you have to go ahead and slap Joe Saunders for not paying attention to you. So that's good. Joe, you're safe.
And on that
Joe
note,
is awesome.
hasta luego.